All right, so iOS 14 has destroyed everybody's world, and the sky is falling, and all your Facebook ad campaigns are dying, and what do you do? And if I haven't summarized your life, then this video is not for you. But if you have been relying very heavily on Facebook traffic, and you just noticed that CPMs went through the roof, and all these new setting changes are screwing up everything that you've known and have come to love, I'm going to ask you to come to the light side. The alternative, and I'm only being mildly facetious. The alternative that I'd like to offer up to you is YouTube ads. I think that YouTube ends up being a really amazing analogous shift. So if you've been running Facebook ads successfully and it just stopped working recently, due to the iOS updates, then I think that it's really worth you looking at YouTube and specifically looking at the way that you can segment inside of Facebook, demographically, psychographically, according to interests, the behavioral-based segmentation. A lot of that and more is accessible to you in YouTube. So I'm not here to tell you that YouTube's better than Facebook, because I don't think it is. I think for a lot of what you've been successful on Facebook for, Facebook was best suited. YouTube takes a little bit longer to warm people up. YouTube temperamentally, those users are in YouTube to be in YouTube. They're not, ultra receptive to clicking out. It's sort of a self-contained ecosystem, kind of like Instagram, to be honest with you, which is interesting because Facebook advertisers treat Instagram just kind of like it's Facebook, and I don't think that it is. Facebook users are more receptive to being shown offsite information and then going to some of those places. So it's not going to be a perfect one-to-one transition, but it's the closest thing out there, in my opinion, especially when you're looking at a broad-reaching demographic. You can go to like Snapchat or TikTok or whatever if you have younger users, but really that's kind of the limitation of those networks, some of the more obscure networks. And there are some really viable pockets of traffic. Like we run some Reddit ads for a client and saw like a really substantial amount of success, but it was very myopic in view. LinkedIn has some traffic, I've heard, although we've never been very successful with LinkedIn ads. I think that there are some tangential approaches you can take, but the thing that I would be focusing on the most, if you're an advertiser who has been successful with Facebook and it only recently failed, I would look at YouTube. And your strategies, a lot of them are going to carry over in really strong ways. So a lot of the media still performs really well. A lot of the segmentation still performs really well. The way that you optimize performs. Facebook has been prioritized for video delivery for so long that you're going to get in there and say like, okay, I actually kind of get this. I know what's going on here. So I'd ask you to look at YouTube as a viable option. If Facebook is still working for you, it's worth hedging your bets and building, an alternative approach, but I wouldn't stop. I'd see how deep that well goes. And I also think that Facebook is frantically trying on its end to make sure that it salvages as many advertisers as it can possibly salvage. So, some of this hopefully goes away. Some of this, I imagine, is a byproduct of just what happens anytime all of us end up on a slippery slope and, something goes wrong for a small number of advertisers, but the response ends up exceeding the size because of the preemptive response. And so we'll see whether or not that's the case. The new cost of traffic inside of Facebook is reminiscent of the election. And that's kind of interesting to me because there's nothing right now that I know of that would explain that. So it's, outside of obviously the iOS 14 shift, but even then I don't know exactly how to connect those dots other than, maybe people seeing a decrease in performance causes them to overinvest or invest more. And that's causing traffic costs to go up, but that's a little speculative. All that to say, try YouTube and use the same strategies that were working for you inside of Facebook. I think you'll find that YouTube traffic is a little more expensive and it takes a little bit longer to convert. But not so much more expensive and not so much longer that it's not worth trying. So if you're dead in the water, this is the life raft in my mind. I hope this is helpful. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Love y'all. I'll see you next time.